right. Hello and welcome everyone. Today I'm really excited to have a chat with Patti Barton, who is a palm reader or palmistry, and she also does hand analysis as well. And she's been a student and teacher, and also practitioner in palmistry and hand analysis for many decades now. Patty's also an artist and recently sold a couple of paintings at a gallery opening, which was fantastic. So well done, Patti. And Patti also has also does offer remedial massage and the horseman technique, which I hadn't heard of before. I'd heard that Patti does it, but we'll look at the remedial massage and horseman technique information in a separate interview. But today, welcome, Patti. I'd really love to hear a little bit more about your palmistry and hand analysis, and if you want to just give us a bit of an overview, that'd be awesome.
Okay, I'm more than happy to do that. I've got to talk about hand reading and palmistry and hand analysis, talk the leg off a chair I can for it. However, I'll try and give you a potted summary. I've been interested in reading hands since I had a vision, actually. I'm not used to having visions, and one night in the early 80s, I woke up with my head faced into the pillow, and I don't even know if I woke up. I think I was in hypnagogic state, which is a transpersonal condition of my unconscious. And I saw this incredible hand. It was bright and a brightly shining hand.
Wow.
And it disappeared after a little while, and I woke up and I thought, I wonder what that was all about. And over the years, I think I realized that it had three meanings. That I was to continue with my strong interest in palmistry. I had been reading everything I could lay my hand on since the 60s and 70s, 1960s and 70s, and
Wow.
that I'm 80 next month. And
Wow.
so I was interested in hands and needed to obviously to look more into that. I work with my hands as an artist and sculptor, and I am very interested in doing body work and healing for people. So I have these three uses for my hands. I've written a little book. I wrote it this is one from the late 80s, and I'm selling that for only $5. It's self-published. Well, it's actually not self-published, this one. That was published by Broomtail Press. But I have a later book that's on Amazon based on this material, but that you have to pay $20 to get that one with postage, and this is only $10 with postage.
Ben,
so
we'll put a link to that in the description in the video below, actually. So look out for that as well.
All right. Okay, great. So looking at hands, I have read many, many hundreds of hands over the years, and I used to do lots of markets and things. And I even used to read hands at the school fete when my kids were in primary school. Wow. And I had this picture that I sent you of me reading from what appears to be a crystal ball when it's really only a light bulb, a light fitting, and all my magic posters behind me, and I'm dressed up as some sort of medieval wisdom holder. And I would tell all these kids that they are going to be a lot healthier if they eat a lot more vegetables, etc.
Fantastic. That's a very good message to give to the kids. Absolutely.
So it's really interesting whenever you hold somebody's hand and make out that you can read it. It's you are exposing their soul in a way, and you must be very cognizant of that, and not to feed negative information, but always keep things positive when you're reading someone's hands. So looking at palmistry, I've read many, many hundreds of books, and have practiced understanding the meaning of all the lines and the shape of the hands, the color and texture of the skin, the flexibility, where the thumb sits on the hand. If you've got a wider thumb like that, you can take on a lot of stuff in the world. And if your fingers always play out like that, we call that the bohemian spread. rather than I have one son, he puts his hands down like this and he's very reticent and shy. And I've got the other son like this who used to have his own grunge rock band. So
Wow.
the personality shows up in the hand, in the
Fan-
color, the shape, the texture, and the lines. So it's not just the lines you look at with palmistry. You need to know that for sure, but you also look at all these other features, like the shape of the hand is very important. For instance, if the person has a very square palm, like I have, fairly square, usually they have shorter fingers than I've got. I've got longer fingers, so they're to do with air. They're associated with air. The square palm is associated with the earth. If you've got a hand that would fit in a shoebox, long and square like that, that's associated with air. So if you have very long willowy fingers with pointy ends, then that's associated with water. So earth, fire, air, and water. Fire is a very irregular shaped hand with Zorro type lines everywhere. And so if you've got a square hand shape, you'll be more likely to be practical, down to earth, reliable, honest sort of person. But you wouldn't ask that person to become a lawyer or a doctor necessarily. Although there are some doctors, but they've usually got long fingers for the air, which is the mental side. So if you fit in a shoebox and you've got the long squarish hand, that's air, that's mental. You'll probably have a long straight headline, etc. So shape is very important. If you've got a fiery, irregular hand, then you've got lots of energy like me. I've got also air fingers, square palm, and fiery energy. So I'm meant to be an illuminator archetype. So I'm here to be a way shower and a wisdom holder for people. So we combine some of them together with some of the lines, and that gives us the archetype of that particular behavioral pattern for the person. The water hand is very emotional, often psychic, very sensitive person. If they've got long, thin fingernails that are like willowy, like the reeds in the ocean, and they're more likely to be very sensitive. Not like you wouldn't ask that person to go and become a bricklayer and a builder for you. So the personality is expressed through the palmistry. The other subject that I took up and have been studying in great detail now for the last 10 or 11 years is called hand analysis. It's like a depth psychology, analytical psychology of the person, and that looks at the fingerprints. Now, the fingerprints, remember from forensic science, were until recently with DNA studies were used to identify us. So they are your unique life is in your fingerprints.
Wow.
With the study of your fingerprints and which fingers they're on, and whether you've actually got any fingerprint patterns in the rest of your palm, is what we call a hand analysis. And that the most complex prints, usually a whorl shape, if you've got a lot of those, you will be in the school of service. Now, from the fingerprints, the majority one, the highest ranked one is your soul's purpose for this lifetime. Mm-hmm. The lowest ranked, the simplest ones, are your life lessons for this lifetime. So the fingerprints, strangely enough, are laid down in the 4th month of the womb. So you've got them for 5 months before you're born, and they never change.
Wow.
The rest of the hand, the palmistry, can change sometimes right in front of my eyes in terms of the color patterns in the hand and the fingers, because your personality is responding to not only your conditioning from your childhood and your genetic history, but also your conditions of your life where you are now.
That's actually something I was going to ask. So, looking at your hand, so your hand would have changed from when you were, say, 20 years old or 40 years old to what now? So, is it both hands that would change, or just one hand that would change?
Both hands. The right hand is always what you're, regardless of whether it's your dominant hand or not. And for most people, it is. The right hand is your outer world work. What you do in the outside world. It's your public presentation. The left hand is more of your private, your personal, your family, your close community and friends. it lives in your left hand. But these things will change. The marks, the various markings and shape and so forth can change through time.
Okay.
Now, I've got photographs of my hands that were taken, photographs of prints that were taken in the middle of 2016, when I was incredibly busy organising workshops around Australia for my teacher from Switzerland. And I was really busy doing all that, and also running my usual things for my life, which is always busy anyway.
Mm.
And the prints taken from them from that period were so different to 3 or 4 months later when I was resting and having holiday.
Wow.
And the hand showed all these neurotic lines firing off everywhere. So they were stress markers. I was quite stressed and overworked. And by the time it came to my holiday time, the print showed that I just had my main lines that usually show up anyway, and not lots of little stress and anxiety lines everywhere. Okay. So that's how they can change. As I say, the colour can change quite dramatically at times.
And when people come to see you, what's a common question they might ask for you to have a look at when it's for palmistry or hand analysis?
Yeah, they often want to know about the future. And this is the thing with the work that I do and hand analysts do, is that we're not predictive. It's not like a psychic reading or anything like that. It's much more established and scientific and rigorous, and it talks about where you are now, sort of where you've been, that's put you into your current situation, and presumably you will from that go on and do other things related to that. But we don't predict anything. No one can know the future, and we certainly don't do anything about predictions. So people often ask, am I going to meet the lover of my life? Am I going to pass my university degree? This sort of thing. So that's future predictive stuff, which we don't do. But we look for things about your character, your talents, your gift markers. There are 17 different gift markings that we look for. Okay. And if you've got them in your hand, for instance, the gift marker for being very artistic and creative would be a star under the ring finger.
Wow.
Okay. That's the finger of Apollo, the god of the sun, place in the sun, and fame and fortune and stuff that Apollo is responsible for. And if you've got a very clear little star there, then it's behoven on you to do some creative activity. It's got to be central to your life. And so that's a gift marker. And I say we've got 17 of them that we study. And actually, if you don't express those gift markers, there can be a few penalties, and different penalties for each one. But that won't happen for other people. But I must say, for some people, it won't happen. But I must say that you can still be very creative and have a great talent in that field without having a gift marker. But if you've got the gift marker laid in your hand, it's important for you to express that. Okay. So they're what we look for, what I look for. And at the moment, I'm seeing clients either individually, like I saw you last week, and when a person comes, I take a few of their details and tell them a little bit about what I do. And then I take your handprints with special inking sheets that I end up with this sort of paper. And that shows me a lot more detail than my just looking with my naked eye at your hand, or even with my trusty magnifying glass, because I then scan it into my computer and I can expand it right up so I can see all the details of the fingerprints especially. And then if the person is coming just for a personality, a palmistry reading, then I charge $70 for that. But I still take their prints as well, just in case in future they might want a thorough hand analysis done. and then I will do some study from all of my research texts and write a report after I've done a detailed report on the combination of the fingerprints, what sort of archetypal patterns you've got running in your life, what purpose you've got to be, and to have a consciousness about this lifetime, and what lessons you have to deal with in order to fulfill the potential of that purpose that shows up in your fingerprints.
So the lessons show up on the fingerprints? That's where you find that the most, yeah?
It's in the fingerprints, and yes. So our teacher who brought this wonderful work about the fingerprints to the world is Richard Unger, and his book is called Life Prints: Deciphering Your Life Purpose from Your Fingerprints. Just from your fingerprints. Now, anybody with absolutely no knowledge of palmistry can actually read that book. They can buy it off Amazon, and they can just analyze their own and other people's fingerprints just from this book for your life purpose and your life lessons, and what sort of archetypal patterns you have, which are about what fingers they're on the hand.
Wow.
And it's also important if you've got them in other parts of your hand as well, as some people do. And so Richard argues or believes that these fingerprints are agreed to before you were born. There's a sort of in between for those who believe in life after life. There is an in between stage where the soul talks over discusses what they possibly will do this lifetime.
Their life lessons,
what karma they might want to clear, and then that's decided on the fingerprints. Now, you're not born knowing what they are. Your life experience will bring, but many will bring more awareness. You'll end up having a life that's got lots of various things in it that could well be indicative of your fingerprints. But many people aren't interested in deep self-analysis like hand analysis encourages you to have. And Richard says of those people that they are living in the great gaping hole of a meaningless life. So we seek deep meanings. I know you do in the work that you're doing with your YouTube channel. You're hoping to encourage people to look more deeply into their health and their mental and social and psychological well-being.
Absolutely.
So you're encouraging people not to live in that great gaping hole of a meaningless life.
Just explore, yeah.
So there we are. Now, for a full hand analysis at the moment, I'm only charging $110. When my friend and teacher Jenna is in Australia, she charges $350 back in 2016. So
wow. Okay. And you do it online as well. And if people do it online, how can they give you the print? Like, how does that work?
Well, that's easy. I just write to them. I send an envelope with the printing sheets, the ink printing sheets, there's just one sheet that you saw how I separated it, and there's one for each hand. And you cover your hand with the ink, one of them, put it on the page, and you pull the page to the edge of the table a bit, and just push up underneath so you can ink the palm and the thumb and each of the fingers, so that you've got everything covered, and lift it off, and then you do the other hand and just clean up with a bit of oil and kitchen paper.
Okay, yeah, it came off quite easily. Yeah, you look at your black hands and it's like, but yeah, the oil was very easy to come off. So
yeah, because the ink they are forensic inking sheets, so they're oil based and therefore permanent, and you have to clean them up with some oil, some just cooking oil or something, just a few drops you rub together, and then you get the paper towel and wipe it off, and then wash them with
and send it back to you.
Yeah, and then you send them back to me, or you can take a photograph with your phone, as long as it's right over the top and not sort of back here or anything, which distorts the size and the shape of things. It must be taken directly over, a high resolution photograph that you can email to me as a PDF, but I would prefer to see the originals. You can take a photocopy for yourself, and you send the prints that you've taken back to me, and I shall analyze them when I put them into the computer and do my research.
And
So,
now
yeah,
you mentioned before that you do workshops as well. So you do see individual clients, but you also do workshops for
yes,
people. Do you have a set number that you might see, or do you do that around Australia, or what do your workshops involve?
okay. I also do circles, a reading circle, where I've had three of them here since I've moved to Mackay about a year ago.
Okay.
And people just come to my lounge room, we sit in a circle, and I tell them about what I'm telling you now. And then I do a quick 10 or 15-minute reading or 10-minute reading, really, for everybody while the others are having a cup of tea if they don't want to listen to that person's reading. And I keep it light, and it's always fun.
Nice.
I always keep it with lots of humour. And then if people are really interested in in-depth one, then they'll come later for an interview with me. But I can do it remotely, like I just explained. You can come to one of the circles that I run, or you can organise your own at yours or a friend's place. And incidentally, everybody pays $20 for their 10-minute reading, and I provide the afternoon teas and
Lovely.
a tea and cake and bicky sort of thing. So for
Do you?
$20, you can get this quick reading. But if someone else hosts it for me, then they get the reading. They get a full reading free. That's the
Oh,
first
wow.
$110 reading for free, because they've
Okay.
introduced me to a minimum of 5 possible potential clients. So they get the whole caboose for free. So,
Fantastic. Do you do online workshops as well, or is it mainly in
I haven't
person?
done. I haven't done on. I have a couple of things on YouTube, but I'm just so busy with everything else that I do that
Mm,
I'm not doing anything online. I'm just doing them remotely or in person.
okay.
So yeah, so I can do the circles, or someone can host them at their own home, or that's in Mackay. I also do workshops where I actually teach people how to uh, uh, read the basic palmistry side of it. We don't go into the fingerprints detail side of it, because I haven't been qualified as a teacher yet. I'm in my second year of the year long, almost finished the year long training at the second year level, and there is a third year level, so it's equivalent to a university course.
Wow.
I have a PhD from university as a sociologist, so I know what's
You're a
involved
busy
in
lady.
university studies, and this one is definitely equivalent to it. So until I'm trained as a master teacher, I can't teach all about the fingerprints. But of course, you can teach yourself from the horse's mouth.
Yeah, wonderful.
Should you be really interested in that?
So if
Um,
someone wanted to be a palmistry practitioner, they could come
yeah,
to you and they could learn and go through the whole process, and then they could be certified to offer it and to have clients and stuff. Yeah.
of course. And I charge, well, I think it's $150 for a day of training, but I like to have a minimum of 3 people to do a palmistry day of training. And I could teach it over a longer period, but that's mainly going through the content of this book, and they get the book, or my other one from Amazon, which I'm waiting on from the publisher at the moment, and I've got plenty of those, and they're $10, sorry, $15 each, and $5 to post. But if you're coming to have a workshop with me, then you'll have to buy the book as well. And so I think it's $150 for the day's training in palmistry, and of course I can do a lot more in depth, more days if people want them.
Yeah, that's quite cheap, really, 150. And do you then recommend that if they go, how, like, would you say go off and see or practice on 10 people or 20 people, or how does it work once they've done a bit of
Yeah,
training with you?
I haven't set up a regimen for that as such. I certainly have that for my horseman technique training. That's 30 people you have to do for the foundation series in my bodywork therapy. but I haven't worked one out for palmistry as such. But I'm certainly happy to certify people, but they probably would have to do at least 3 days of different forms of training. Like I might concentrate on the hand shapes and the lines on one day, because there's a lot of information in that. And I might do about color, texture, and flexibility on another day, and some other aspect of palmistry on another day. So yeah, just learning about the lines alone could take a whole day for sure, because you've got to there are 3 main lines on the hand, which is the heart line at the top, the head line across the middle, and the lifeline around the thumb here. And it's not a death line, so you don't say that you're going to die because you've got a short lifeline, right? It's a lifeline. It's about how grounded you are and how at home you are and how peaceful you are in your home life. And the Mount of Venus is all about love and family, and rhymes with, I didn't say that word. Anyway, that's the thumb is your will. That's the Mount of Venus. The thumb is your will in the world, how logical you are. The fingers are leadership. The middle one is about work and career. Sirius old Saturn about work and career. Apollo is about the arts and creativity and being in the public eye, and being, whether you're afraid or not of standing up in public and afraid of the rotten tomatoes being thrown at you or not, depending on how strong that finger is. And the little finger is a famous little finger. He's called Mercury, which is the messenger of the gods on the unconscious half of the hand. This is the conscious half. And little Mercury is responsible for 3 things. Busy as he is with his littleness, he should come up to that mark at the top of that Apollo finger, that top joint there, and he should reach up to there. Otherwise, you're rather shy and you don't speak up. If it's really long like mine, then you're speaking up too much all the time. And if it hangs out like that, you've got so much to say that you don't listen to anyone else. And if it hangs in there to the other finger, you are very shy and reticent, and you're hiding away. But so he's got to do with communication, how you speak up, stand up in the world, and spread your messages. Business, we get the words merchant, mercantile, and mercenary from Mercury.
Okay.
He was the traveler between the gods on Olympus and us mere mortals, and he would travel everywhere and do his business with his smart, because it's having a good strong Mercury finger means you've got some smarts, you're quick, sharp, and clever. And that's what Mercury is. But he's a bit of a trickster, so you don't buy a used car from a person with a problematic Mercury like mine. I've broken that twice. So that was an accident. I wasn't born like that.
Wow.
So crooked fingers won't tell the truth often, little fingers. And the other thing it does is health. There's a caduceus sign that you have for medicine, which is the angel at the top, the big round bit at the top with the angel's wings, and the serpents curling around the staff in the middle. That's the sign for Mercury, and it's called caduceus. And it's really healing. So your healer lines are under the little finger. So if you've got 3 or 4 very clear lines between that the little finger and the ring finger, you should be in some form of healing or counseling, or looking after the needs of other people's health. And yeah, the caduceus is an interesting symbol, actually. I don't think too many medical professionals who have that symbol everywhere on their literature, etc. It comes from medieval the mercurial studies, and it's to do with the Hindu symbol for the life force that comes up the back, the middle of the back, and that's called the Sushumna. And the serpents going across are the Ida and Pingala, and they're energy lines that cross each of the chakras in the body.
Okay.
Each of the 7 chakras. And by the time, providing you've released all the blockages and the stresses of each chakra, when they come to the top, you become enlightened at the crown chakra, and that's when you become the angelic being of light. So that's what that symbol stands for.
Wow,
And
that's really interesting. I
yeah,
never knew that. I've seen that symbol a few times on various branding or various things, but I never really knew that. So thanks for explaining that.
yeah, that's what it is. So it means how we work on clearing each of the chakras until we're enlightened beings. Yeah, so that's what I do. And
Fantastic. And with your artistry and with your painting and sculpting, do so you do have the creativity symbol on your hands as well for that because you're quite creative.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, my fingerprints. When you analyze the archetype for myself, I'm supposed to be a uh, big shot artist. I'm
Okay.
supposed to be successful in some field of the arts now, or a creative individual. And the thing is that your creativity doesn't have to mean sculpture or painting or whatever. As long as you're bringing in new things that are beautiful and enhance the lives of others, that's creative. You can be a creative dentist, right? Invented some technique that's just uniquely unique to them,
Mm.
and it's that really helps. The
Well, your palmistry and hand analysis, that's creative as well, isn't it?
yeah,
Really,
yeah, and
because
of
you're
course,
analyzing and you're looking at other people's.
yeah,
It is, yeah.
I trained as a high school art teacher in the early 60s. I still remember my university number, actually, 620961, and the 62 was the year I started uni. And however, I only did 1 year of high school art teaching when I became pregnant with my daughter in the mid 60s. And in Australia at that time, women were not allowed to work in the public service if they were mothers and had children until your last child was at school or 5 years old, and then you could return to the workforce. So I wasn't very happy with that because I was very out there sort of a person, and then wasn't very domestic. I didn't have a very happy family life. My mother was schizophrenic, so I didn't have any mothering, and so I don't know nothing about mothering and babies and stuff like that. And
Wow.
more interested in the outside world of squash and horses, which I was also interested in. I played a lot of state grade squash, very athletic. I was also interested in swimming. So after I had my daughter, I was overweight. So I bought myself a bikini that was 2 sizes too small, and it actually didn't fit me in any respect. And so I wanted to get it smaller so that I'd lose weight to fit into it. And
Did it
I
work?
and made it to fit me. And I realized it's bloody easy making bikinis. So I ultimately ended up designing and creating incredible range of made-to-measure bikinis. I had a shop on the beach in Cottesloe in Western Australia where I grew up.
Wow.
And that was very
Wow.
successful for 7 years. And I sold it. I ran it as a cottage industry with 15 sewing ladies and 20 crocheting ladies. They crocheted and knitted these incredible swimwear and covers and hats and things and bags
Wow.
and stuff. And that was Patti Burke's Bikini Bar was pretty famous. It was right next door to the public bar of the Ocean Beach Hotel at North Cottesloe. If ever you go down there, it's a great hotel opposite the surf club.
Wow.
And I had my sewing ladies working as a cottage industry all at home and encouraging them to develop innovative and creative ways of designing. So I never had two bikinis the same.
Fantastic. That entrepreneurial spirit, that's fantastic. And sharing that as well, that's awesome.
Yeah, if you've got a whirl on your or a high-ranking print on your right Saturn finger, serious work, then you're likely to be in well-paid and well-rewarded sort of work. And if you've got it as the lowest ranking fingerprint, it's called wrong work for wrong pay. So you might be well paid, but in jobs you don't want, or alternatively, you might be working at what you want and not being well rewarded by the world for its right hand. So it's value in the world from the outside. but I've got a high-ranking print there, so I'm supposed to make a good living at what I choose to do in a creative way.
Fantastic, fantastic. Now I know we'll just maybe finish off a little bit on telling us a little bit about your remedial massage and horseman technique and what sort of bit of a teaser for our audience to listen to our next interview on that. But do you want to give us a little bit of an overview on the horseman technique and what that involves? Because I've mentioned it to a few people, and you probably get it as well if you're talking about it, people don't know, they think horses, and it's nothing to do with horses.
As
So
much as I love horses, you'll see my paintings of horses all around the house. I
mm.
got brought up with horses. I rode horses before I walked. But no, this was developed by a person who became my colleague, and I gave up my family and my university teaching job and my home in Sydney, and joined her to travel the world to teach this work, which
Wow.
is energy-based body work. For Trish believes that the connective tissues of the body hold a lot of our unresolved emotional energy. So you know how uptight you get and how your muscles get uptight around your neck, how you get headaches when you've got your neck all tight. All right, so that's a simple aspect of it. Trish was an incredible healer who worked at a clinic in Crookwell, where the Crook get well, at a village south of Sydney and near Goulburn, and she had a clinic there. And one day she was walking up to her clinic when she collapsed, and she had ended up having two near-death experiences that day. She died twice that day,
Wow.
once at the doctor's surgery and the other time in the ambulance taking her to Goulburn Hospital. But she survived a powerful near-death experience that affected the rest of her life. And she woke up one morning a few years later after trying to adjust her life to this after-death experience. She still continued working at her clinic, and she heard this voice tell her that she must now get on with the work. And Trish says, if anyone's got any idea what I'm supposed to be doing, and one morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, the phone was ringing in her farmhouse where she lived, and she got up to it and it wasn't ringing at all, but clear in her head was the vision of this work. And she took it to clinic the next day, and she continued to use it until she died a year or so ago. And I continued to use it. And those visions came, and we hold special energy points on the body, particularly around the hip girdle, and we bend the knee and we feel for the muscle holding patterns for the body to release all sorts of lower back and hip girdle imbalances and irregularities in the tissues of the body. We check how long the legs are, if they're both same length, how the pelvis is, whether it's up, down, around about. And invariably by the end of the treatment, we've got the legs level, the hips back into place, and your pain can be gone straight away from your low back. So particularly for people with sciatic injury and things like that. So, wow. But the philosophy is that the lower back area of the body, the sacrum in particular, and all of the tissues associated with the sacrum and the lumbar of the lower vertebrae hold old, unresolved, unacknowledged emotional stresses from our life that we haven't really dealt with and cleared. And we stuff them in our backpack, and we end up by the age of 35 starting to deal with low back pain. We do the arm and shoulder release technique, which it holds special energy points here for the emotional energy. And we mobilize the bent arm, feeling for the holding patterns for releasing currently aware of stresses. So these are the ones we're struggling with, and we're actually aware of them, and poor posture and things like that. And we do a foot release. It's a bit like reflexology, but it's Trisha's quick approach to it, and very effective. We can release all the vertebrae along the inside of the foot there.
Wow.
Then I teach those as a foundation series, plus another workshop I call the self-sabotage release. We're always sabotaging ourselves, and that helps clear that. So it's energy-based, but it's also physical, and it involves working with the muscle holding patterns in the body and releasing them. Yeah, I've actually taught a workshop in it last week. So
fantastic. Well, we'll go a little bit more into it in another video.
Yeah.
But it sounds fascinating, actually. I think energy healing is such a powerful modality. And there's definitely a lot of, even with hypnotherapy, there's just a lot of trapped emotions in our bodies.
Yeah.
And even body psychotherapy and stuff like that helps us release those kind of things. So I find all of that really fascinating, actually. So I'm looking forward to talking a little bit more about the horseman technique with you as well, sort of in future.
You must come over and have a session.
I must come over and have a session, actually. Yeah,
I'll
yeah, our
demonstrate it to you, and so
sounds.
you can see what it feels like.
I
Yeah.
look forward to it. That sounds wonderful.
The
Now,
website is called horseman-system.com.
fantastic, fantastic. Now, um, we might wrap it up now, but thank you so much, Patti. I really, really appreciate your time today, and you've provided so much fantastic information. And I will put links to your social media and your information, your books, and everything like that in the below the video in the description, so people can find you and people can come to see you in person. They can attend your workshops, and they can book in with you in person or online. And I think to learn more, and I can't believe you're 80. Yeah, you just do so much, and you've just got yeah, such a wonderful energy, and I really do appreciate your time tonight. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks very much, Danny, and hope to see you soon. Bye bye.
Wonderful. Thank you.